Welcome to the Brain Factor Podcast with Joy and Laura, powered by Meridian Healthcare, approaching wellness with heart, one life at a time, one community at a time. This is a science-based conversation about real life. Our goal? To leave you with a few nuggets of wisdom, smile on your face, and maybe even a laugh or two. So let's jump in.
Hi, and welcome to the Brain Factor. I'm Laura. I'm here, as always, with my co-host, Joy, and we have Lauren Cohn with us today, the CEO of Meridian Behavior Health. So we are excited to have you, as always. She's a frequent guest. I'm sure you've seen and heard her before. But today, we want to talk about something that we've recently had robust offline conversations about. Because we both have teenagers, and but it's relevant for adults as well, is this idea of the anxiety that is produced by doom scrolling, and where that's coming from, why that feels the way it feels, what we can do about it, how sort of we've gotten trapped in this as human beings, and just all of the things that come along with that. So, you're and this is sort of where it starts. You pick up your phone. We all have these like automatic like habits, like the times we grab our phones when there's not even anything going on. But this is when I pick up my phone. I sit down with my coffee in the morning and I grab my phone, right? Mm-hmm. I have no real need to do that. And then 45 minutes later, first of all, 45 minutes have passed somehow. And I'm exhausted. I'm drained. Nothing actually happened. Why am I feeling the way that I'm feeling, right? And that's what I want us to unpack a little bit today. So do you guys have that same experience with like sort of the...
I am a late night doom scroller.
Are you?
Yeah. Late night doom scroller.
That's like the worst thing. You know better than that.
I do. I know. But it's the lights are off. It's dark. Yeah. It's nighttime. I'm, relaxing adjacent, but it's not really relaxing, but I think that it's going to be.
Right.
Then I check it starts with like email check and actual legitimate things you have to do, responding to things. And then comes the doom scrolling. And then you get sucked in a rabbit hole of bite-sized videos.
Right.
That's how it happens for me, but in the morning, probably at night too, but in the morning I'll be like, oh, let me put on my Hallow app and I'll listen to like a little church thing or something. And then that ends. And then I'm like scrolling,
Right.
sucked into everything I've been targeted with.
Yeah.
Oh, you just said a loaded phrase, like everything you've been targeted with, right? Because that's part of it as well. And one of the things I want to point out, like I want to see if there's a way to see that, like what our phones look like, right? So there's so many things on there, you know? So we pick it up for, I'm going to listen to the church service. Yeah. I'm going to check my email. But we're bombarded with just constant information, and it's bites. It's these little tiny bites. And it's emotion. We're going to get into this a little bit because it's intentional, but it's emotionally loaded content. And it's just into our brains. And what that becomes is what's called ambient anxiety. Mm-hmm. We don't feel like, we've very recently, a couple episodes ago, talked about anxiety again. We've talked about it in a lot of different forms before. But we've very often talked about anxiety we're aware of, right? Ambient anxiety is sort of just the white noise of anxiety, if you will, right? It's playing in the background. Might not even be aware of it. It just exists, and it's there, and that really impacts us, even though we're not consciously aware of it. And a lot of times it is created by this little box that we are so attached to.
Well, in those videos now, I'm sure you probably noticed a change over social media in the past couple of years. Like you don't see your friends' stuff really anymore. You're seeing videos that are coming at you.
Right.
And from a marketing perspective, I do a lot of research in this area. Like there are audio hooks, there are visual hooks, there are text hooks, and you have to like have 3 of these hooks in the beginning in the first few. It's an actual science to get you to do that.
Right. And that's the people who are putting this content out know that.
They do.
Well,
it's
Jewish their job
Yeah.
to get people to look at it.
And they know what you even slow down to look at, not even what you watch fully or what you click on to watch. But if you are presented with a series of content,
Mhm.
and they can tell what you even pause on, right? That's how
Right.
subtle it is. Like, has
Right.
what you even thought about watching,
Right.
right? So
Right.
something, so then that's information that's being utilized to then improve. So you will pause the next time, right? So it's this
Right.
digital cycle.
Yep. Yep. And so micro content, we've used that
Yes.
that word a
Mhm.
couple times. I want to pause there and sort of explain what that is, right? Think about when you're going through your social media,
Yeah.
social media in particular, and you're scrolling through there. What are you seeing, right? You're seeing headlines, you're seeing very short, very short form videos, right? We had joked offline, like my
Yeah.
daughter had said, I had sent her reels, and 'cause
Yeah.
that's my love language.
Yeah.
So I sent her reels, and I was like, "Did you see that reel?" And she was like, "Oh, you always send me such long form content." It was like a minute and a half.
Yeah.
It was like a minute and a half. And that's because that's long in
Yeah.
today's world, right? So
I'm with her on that.
right.
It's like about 10 seconds and I'm moving.
And think about 5 years ago what you would have considered a short video on social
Mhm.
media versus now.
3 minutes.
Right, through 3 minutes,
Yeah.
even 2 minutes, or like,
Mhm.
oh, one was super short, now one is long.
Yeah.
And so it's headlines, outrage tweets, right? Think about the kinds of things people are saying online and the kinds of content you're coming across, right? And you're seeing
Attention grabbing,
right,
inflammatory.
crisis headlines,
Yes.
right? You're seeing things designed to make you stop and click.
Yeah.
So they're designed to get your attention. What does attention feel like physiologically in the body, right?
Mhm.
And so but then on top of it just being that, it's not like the same topic
Yeah.
that's hitting you, trying to get
Mhm.
your attention. It is everything.
Lots of different.
It is politics, it is human interest, it is all the things,
Mhm.
right, coming at you in a matter of 30 seconds as you're scrolling.
Yeah.
You're not even registering some of the things you're seeing that your brain and your body is registering.
Mhm.
And that's the thing. So it's the headlines, the tweets, the videos that play automatically. So you didn't even ask for those, and you have the first few words of that. That's
Yeah.
been stored,
Mhm.
and the example we gave in the beginning, you've done that for 45 minutes.
Yeah.
How do we not expect that to have an impact on us? Then we walk away and we think like, well, that was a restful morning coffee.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go to bed now.
Yeah. No. Yes. Exactly. That's not relaxing.
It's
There's
not
no way
relaxing.
you are going to have a restful night's sleep
Mhm.
starting it that way.
Yeah, and the that's that feeling you can't explain. We're still going through our own patterns and our behaviors, right? We're still saying like, I do this and then I wind down,
Mhm.
and now I'm going to go to bed, right? So we're sort of trying to fit our nervous system into this pattern of behavior that we have created, but this ambient anxiety is now present, and we're not aware of it.
Yeah.
It's running in the background. It is this low level emotional stress that is just sort of constantly weighing on us.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I know when I was preparing for this episode at home, I don't know, my husband must have heard something I was playing or watching or something like that. And he said, "Oh, by the way, did you know now to uh, combat doom scrolling? This is not going to be a good thing. TV shows." He's like, "You know how we used to watch that one TV show and we're always like, why do they say all those stupid things? Like, very obviously it's a crime show type of thing. And they'll just say these very obvious dumb things. And it's like, why do they say that? Like, do they think we can't figure this out? But it's because of doom scrolling. Those shows that are doing that now are trying to keep your attention.
They put in the clips.
They just say the things
Sound
out loud.
clips.
So
Yeah.
while you're scrolling, you're still up to date on the show because you can hear it, and then you'll continue to watch it when you're done.
Oh, like that.
Oh,
And I said, I'll talk about that, but I'm going to need some research. And
Right.
he pulled up a ton of research. He went and
Wow.
looked for it. Yeah. And he's like, here are these studies. This is what's going on. And I'm like,
Because you're not
What?
you're
Yeah.
not just
I
watching
just learned
shows
it, or I would have shared
you're-
it with you
Right.
You're
sooner.
always doing this
Yeah,
while
that's
you're watching.
fascinating.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the industry is now responding to that. Like
Yeah.
we've known that for a while.
Yeah.
We've known that we're not doing only one thing
Yeah.
anymore
Yeah.
because of the phone, right?
Because you
now
can't
it's
keep up
shaping.
with it. So you'll move
Wow.
on and you won't continue to watch the series or the episode.
Because you're like, I don't really
But if
understand
you're
what's
like,
happening. But it's your own fault.
Exactly.
there's a serial killer and da, 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 and these
Yeah.
really weird, obvious things.
Right.
Wow.
Mhm.
Oh my! I'm gonna look for that now. I mean,
Yeah.
with all the TV I watch,
I know,
but
it's
Right,
like,
right,
when
right.
when I do finally watch TV, I'm gonna look for this.
yeah. But there's so many things that are happening. So there's the ambient anxiety, right? There's also this psychological like vigilance that's being
Mhm.
created because now we're like we've got social comparison.
Mhm.
We've known that about social media
For
from
sure.
when it first hit the
Yeah,
scene, right?
yeah.
But that's still there. Yeah, we've got tools for that, we've got awareness for that, but that's still very much a thing, right?
It is.
So we've got social comparison, we've got
Mhm.
breaking news that's coming at
Mhm.
us,
Yeah.
right? We've got pressure for productivity, and don't forget, again, like you were saying, you interact with anything and then the algorithm thinks that's your entire personality.
Oh gosh.
And so now if you're like, oh, productivity, this is great, this is a tool for product, I like this, I'm going to watch this,
You're confronted with 100 more.
all of a sudden
Mhm.
you're not productive enough and you need all these things in order to be right. That's that's psychologically distressing.
Yeah.
It's very easy to feel like, oh, this is
Yeah.
where I am. There's also a lot there always has been, but the climate for this is just really different right now. There's political outrage, right? So you're hyper vigilant psychologically, sort of trying to determine what's happening with the masses, right? And where do I fall in that? And so you're constantly figuring that out. And then a lot of exposure to catastrophe.
Yes.
Because that's sensational. That's what makes
It's
the
sensational,
headlines,
yes.
right?
And
It's
that's
news for a
fear-
reason.
Fear
Mhm.
inducing. So you've got
Right.
that going.
Right. And so there's this the anxiety we're not aware of, and then there's also all this anxiety that we are aware of, the stuff we can point to, like,
Right.
oh my God, and I find myself, I'm aware of some of the anxiety that social media creates, to the point where, and we've talked about this when we talked about like habits and stuff, about like taking social media breaks and things like that, stuff that's becoming a little more mainstream in terms of coping skills. But I don't think we're really aware of the hold it really has beyond the stuff we're aware of, all what that constant exposure does, to
Mhm.
our systems. And one of the things that when our nervous system is being consistently activated, right? And I'm deviating from some of this for a minute,
That's
but
great.
it's if you think about it like this, it's like if you experience a stressor and your stress jumps, right?
Mhm.
And then it goes back down, right? And you're back to baseline, and then it jumps again, and then it goes back down, right? Versus it jumps, you don't have time to recover, you get another stressor, it
Yes.
jumps again. Now your baseline's different, right? So you're what you think is normal is an elevated state of
Yeah.
stress. So you don't recognize when the next stressor comes as easily as you did when that first one did, and you got to go through the full loop.
It's a great point.
This constant, we're overloading our systems, and it's changing our baseline. And I think for me, that's the scariest part
Yeah.
of what it's doing to us.
Yeah.
And I think young people who have never known a life without this, that's a challenge. And it's a challenge, I think, as parents too, like, and we've talked about that, like
Yeah.
how to navigate what that looks like for them and what tools they need. That's
Yeah, I guess because if we pick up the phone and we scroll in the morning and we see things, before going to school or work about some horrible thing that happened at school or
Yeah.
work, and then you stop and you eat your sandwich at lunch,
Yeah.
and there's more stuff like some, disaster, and we've always known that the news is like the news is great. I'm just saying, like, they got to jump on the stuff when it happens. So
Sure.
they're like, da, 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 and they've got to get your attention too, away
Yeah.
from social media. And you get the breaking news, like you were saying, coming
Mhm.
through. It's just,
And
what
then
do yeah.
the algorithm, right? So
Yeah.
so the way I've seen all of this kind of work together, and I've shared before, she's okay with me sharing that my
Mhm.
daughter has OCD,
Yeah.
right? It's in a really manageable place right now, but it's still a thing. She lives with it every day. She's getting ready to go off to college. She's got the normal college kid concerns about
Mhm.
dorms, right? Not wanting to share space. What does that look like? What does that feel like? She did a little searching, trying to kind of wrap her head around it. Well, the algorithm decided that she wanted to see every horrible thing that has ever happened
Oh
in
my
dorm
goodness.
living.
Oh,
Every dorm that
no.
ever had mold in it,
Oh,
every
no.
serial killer that ever targeted dorms, everything she was fed over like a 48-hour period.
Mm.
And that created a struggle. That created a real struggle that for her, the only issue was to completely detach from that phone and social media for a period of time so that she could reset it. And then, you know, she jokes around like she looked at lots of things with like puppies and kittens to try to reset her algorithm.
reset her al- yeah.
Like intentionally do that, right?
That's
But
fantastic that she could identify that though
Really?
and take
Yeah.
that break. So many kids don't have that.
right. Well,
that-
she went through a lot of therapy,
yeah,
right?
she did, and
So
she
Yeah.
it's a
went
unique
through therapy and
situation.
learned tools.
But this is
Mhm.
happening to kids and young people
Everywhere.
who
Yeah,
don't
don't
having
have that.
the
Mhm.
disorders, so they were never in a clinical setting, so they didn't get those really nuanced tools to know the importance of recognizing that this is just in their normal
They
life.
just live with it and
And they
wanna
just live
keep
with
doing
it.
Yeah.
Right, right. And this amplifies some of those things that are already so present for young people. Like, well, everybody thinks this way, or everyone's doing this, or
Right.
because it's just everyone you see,
Mhm.
Yeah.
right? It's just everyone you see.
Well, I noticed too, there's some content creators that now have these very positive, bite-sized, animated, feel-good type of videos,
Mhm.
reels, you
Right.
know, whatever you're calling them. And sometimes those will get kind of like thrown in, which I really like. I
Yeah.
enjoy that. And so my
Yeah.
daughter doesn't have social media or anything, but sometimes I will send her some of these, download these videos because
Yeah.
and I feel like some of that are a couple of these creators trying to combat that. You're going to, in
Mhm.
your
Yeah.
algorithm, you're going to have gloom, doom, scary, you know,
Mhm.
emotional. And then if you get a little dose of the world is weird, and sometimes you're going to feel weird, but
Yeah,
this is one
yeah,
of
yeah,
them.
yeah.
And like, you know, this is how it is, but it will pass. And you're great, you know, like,
Yeah. Yeah.
like just like a little 30-second, you know, blast. You're like, okay.
I
Yeah.
see some creators too saying, "Hey, I'm so and so, and I share something positive every day." You
Yeah.
know? And if you click on those things, and I love that you talked about puppies and kittens to reset her
Right.
algorithm. But if you really think about the things that are important to you, and you go look up 5 things like that, and like it, and
Yes.
make a comment, and
You're gonna
go,
get more.
yeah, oh, this is, you know, saving money, and do that, or how to 5 ways to start a
Right.
business, or
Right. And
whatever
then
the
get
things
that,
are.
get that content.
Yeah.
Go there, comment, log.
Total deviation, shameless plug. But do you guys remember Steve Gutenberg from so his
Bring that in a baby. Yes, of
Instagram
course I
page,
remember.
his Instagram page is the most positive place on the internet.
Is it?
You
Okay.
have to, you guys, everybody has to go follow him because it will help your algorithm.
Okay.
Like he's just become a ray of sunshine
Hmm.
and has decided that he's going to just
He's
shine
gonna
in Instagram.
Combat this.
Yeah.
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 Okay. I'm gonna look.
Totally
You do
great.
one. I think it's called Lenny, and it's animated, and it's lots of positive messaging about like, you know, what's it, and it's very like, I feel like modern, and so it's like, you know, what's really gross, someone that wants to make you feel bad about yourself, right? Ew.
Mhm.
And so like, be who you want to be, you know, like who you want to like,
Yeah.
knit what you want to knit, and like
Yeah.
do you know, is kind of,
Right.
and I sort of like all that kind of, so I've liked a couple of those, and you know, now it's like in my algorithm is pretty much that, and Beverly Hills 90210 because
That's great. Yeah.
yeah,
You said because that's why.
because obviously Carrie's the best, and so this was like a giant, you know, part of my feed. But I think you do see people. I think the point is that you see content creators trying to combat
Right.
this emotional overwhelm and onslaught of gloom and doom and fear inducing and all of these things. You do see the Steve Gutenbergs of the world deciding they're going to
They're going to do it differently.
do it differently.
Yeah. Yeah. And I like
Yes.
that.
Be aware that if you're watching these things or liking these things or making comments, they're going to keep coming to you.
They
So you're
are. They are.
in a way, it's out of your control, but it really is in your control
Yeah.
Yeah.
if you
Yeah.
choose to approach it that way.
Yep.
And go through, do the research, see what you want to come, and that'll start coming.
Absolutely. And you know, when we first started talking at the top of the episode, we talked about like, you know, 45 minutes passed and now we're exhausted,
Yeah.
right? Nothing actually happened, right? So why are we tired? Because even though we did not capture and sort of consciously above the waterline, if you will, of the iceberg, right? We didn't capture and retain all of that. Our brain did. Our brain processed danger, outrage, comparison, urgency, uncertainty, all of those things, back to back to back to back. And we weren't designed for that sort of rapid fire switching of emotions. We weren't designed to sustain that. And so we're fatigued, we're exhausted, right? And there is a part of us, even if, some of the way we're describing it right now is new, we kind of know this. So I think that begs the question, why do we keep doing it? If I know that this is what's happening, why do I sit down with that phone every morning with my morning coffee? Why am I doing that? Right. And so unfortunately, there's some neuroscience that keeps us coming back as well.
And the apps are aware of that too.
Yeah,
They're
all those
designed-
apps
they're
that
designed
doing
to
it.
make water
Yeah,
down, right? And
absolutely.
keep you coming back and keep you liking and engaging and returning, right?
So it feels to me, correct me if I'm wrong, but it feels to me like even if I go through and I do a lot of the puppy liking and stuff like that, that I could experience some of the same things, even if the positive stuff is coming through, not the gloom and doom, but I'm still addicted to it.
Right. And it's, sometimes it's the addiction loops that are activated, but most of the time it's the hypervigilance. It's the threat detection systems. It's those things that are keeping us coming back. And one of the things that this is anecdotal data. This is what I'm about to say is not based on any scientific research, but I have noticed this. And I challenge everyone to maybe do your own little experiment and see if you're experiencing the same thing. But I notice, when I intentionally try to reset my algorithm, it's not as saturated and it doesn't last as long as the negative stuff. And there's a reason for that, I think, because the negative stuff we know in advertising and in marketing, it's years ago when I was a newspaper reporter, I remember going to an entire workshop in DC that was all about, it was the DC Press Association, it was all about writing a good lead. And it was, and the entire workshop, all 8 hours, was around evil and stupidity. That if you had evil and stupidity in your hook in the headline, people would read it. Statistically, they would read past the jump into the jump page.
That's what I was avoiding saying before when I brought the news up.
Right. No, but but it's different between like, okay, there was an ordinance passed and this is what's happening versus like the slumlord on 8th Avenue wants you to have cockroaches in your apartment, right? Like you're going to read that story because it was evil and stupidity, right? Because we're fascinated by evil. We're trying to wrap our heads around it. And if we read about other people's stupidity, well, I'm not that stupid.
I feel better about
myself. Like now I feel better about myself, right? So as human beings, we are drawn to that. And so the negative stuff is what's going to keep us scanning, coming back to scan for more, even if we're not aware of that. And so, you reset your algorithm with the puppies and the kittens, and that lasts like a day and it's about 30% of your videos. And then I click on one thing or I hover on one thing, like you were explaining before, that's scary. And then all of a sudden I'm back to, all the different ways that the world is going to explode in the next 3 weeks.
I think this is also anecdotal, but from in conversation with other people too, there is this fear of missing something.
Oh, FOMO.
Fear of
Absolutely.
missing out. Like, fear of missing out. Even if that's not participating in something, your fear of missing out information that I need to know, information that is relevant to what I do, or information on world events that I just need to be in the know, and I need to be so in the know at all times. And this is a concept that keeps driving us to stay hooked.
Well, one of the things you're touching on too is this idea that there's no closure.
Yeah.
So feeds are constant. And so you walk away because you had something to do, because you were done, not because it's the feed didn't end. And we know that.
To read the newspaper, and the newspaper had a finite end.
Yes.
The news had a finite end.
Right.
That was it. You watched the news, the hourly evening news, and it was over. And
right.
Then you go back to live your life. But you're absolutely right. There is no end to the amount of information you can consume.
Right.
You have to be the one to walk away, or you stop.
And when you do, you're missing whatever is happening in your absence.
Things are still happening.
Things are still happening.
Yeah.
And that's
dangerous concept.
It's a very dangerous concept, and even I am actually currently, and this is a true story, at a place in my life where I am considering getting rid of all but one social media platform. I'm not going to plug one over the other, so I'm not going to say which one it is. But there's some that I feel like have gotten really toxic, but I'm not the kind of person who's like, oh, I'm just going to do, I think that's a big deal because it's where I get my news. It's where I'm connected to family members, right? Like, it's like, oh, that is actually a big deal. And I'm recognizing that I have let this become so much a part of my life that it is a big deal to consider walking away from it. Yeah. And think about what social media started as and what we've allowed it to become, you know, and what we've allowed it to replace. You know, there's still news on, but it's not, you know, think about the news anchors of the past and the way that we relied on some of that information, and we don't anymore. What do we rely on? We rely on, well, I didn't see that on social media. You know, I didn't see that. That didn't pop up. You know, that would be all over social media if that was happening. Yeah. Right. Like that. I've heard phrases like that, you know, and it's like, that's concerning. Yeah. Some of these things we've talked about before, but it applies here as well. Like, you know, grayscale.
Yes. Yeah.
Grayscale is less stimulating. You will like it less. That's a good thing when it comes to this stuff, right? So using your phone in grayscale, it removes that sort of high visual reward in our brain. It makes the apps less attractive. You know, it's really effective for social media because that is so visual. And so that's one thing.
Yeah. And that makes me think of, there's been a movement recently, especially with the younger ones again, Gen Zs and such, to flip phones. So much so that the big wigs are starting to sell them now. Like, I think, I'm not going to plug anybody, but the big cell companies are even starting
like, we
to
have
have
cool vintage looking
flip
phone.
Because there's more awareness of that,
right? Yeah,
and they don't want to, knowing that it's intended and designed to hook you. There's this new resurgence to stay away from it.
Take your time,
right? Just because that's what you're aiming to do is hook me, and so I will be hooked, right? And so I would rather just not engage.
Well, and what I find interesting about that is that, you know, it feels extreme. It's not, but it feels extreme, right? But I think you don't necessarily have to give up all of it, right? You have an iPad somewhere, right? You can get that with intention at times when you need to use apps, not in your pocket 24/7.
Right. And I think, you know, like, I went to a theme park last year, and, you know, I'm in line for a ride with my family, and the person that's next to me is doom scrolling, because you can see, you know, on the app constant. And we're in line, and I get waiting, but then we're at the part where they're telling you like about the ride. So we're about to go in, doom scrolling. Then we're seated on the actual ride, doom scrolling. And I'm like, wow, like we're about to be on a thrill ride. I mean, we're having fun. We're engaged. This is life moments, and I can't, you know, and this person couldn't put the phone down. Right. And then finally they're like, everybody, belongings up, you know, we're it's time to go. I have to. I honestly believe that if they would have allowed it, the person probably would have continued scrolling. Right. And you're like, wow, it used to be in these lulls or these dull moments, but now people are finding hard separating in moments of excitement and life and events and things happening.
Well, and the theme park is such a great example because there's also some mental confusion here, because there are some theme parks, some of the real popular ones, that are your entire like itinerary and navigation is on the app. So you're going on the next ride, or you're, you know, pre-ordering your lunch, or you're doing this, or you're checking the wait times, and it's all there. You're paying with that. It's all in the app. So you're walking around like that. The map is on there. You know, everything's on there. So your face is already in your device. You know, it's a short trip. The walls between apps are low, right? So like you're already there. You're already getting the reward system. You're already, you know, and so I think there's a lot of mental confusion with that as well.
I think so. But I like the something you talked about too was identifying the vulnerable moments. I feel like where you know you are more inclined to and like, what can you replace that with, or knowing that you're going to be extra vulnerable at that moment, like what can we do instead, or being aware of it and
just having a plan
to
minimize
and replacing, I think what are we replacing it with, right? So what are those moments? Those like waiting in line, or using the restroom, right? Or like, you know, right before, when you wake up, or right before you go to sleep, what are we replacing that with? Maybe it's a book or music, or, you know, being bored,
Yes.
like intentionally just being like the awareness that like I trained my brain to need this dopamine hit,
Yes.
and maybe I just need to train my brain not to, and it'll be just as hard, right? And
I
just
love
be
boredom.
bored.
Oh,
Just
that's a
be
whole
And
other,
learning
that's
or
a
at
whole other
night,
topic.
just
Right.
But
Yeah.
and I feel like that's generational too, where like
Yes.
the younger kids are saying, "I'm bored," and I'm like, "No, you do not know boredom.
Right.
You literally don't drive
Right.
cross country to Ohio with your parents, listening to Steely Dan.
Right.
Right,
Looking
right,
out the
right,
window.
right, right,
Not
right.
listening, but looking out the window.
Yeah.
That's boredom. You have nothing, and I live to tell the tale. You know, this is
Absolutely. Yeah.
so I think that you're absolutely right. Getting comfortable with a little bit of
Mhm.
downtime
Yeah.
and boredom.
And then some of the other things we can do is we can have a notification detox, right? Where we keep just the notifications that are from real human beings,
Yeah.
Yes.
right?
Text
Texts,
messages.
calls from real
Yeah.
people, right? And calendar reminders, things like that, and get rid of everything else. Like I did that a while ago. I turned the notifications off for my social media or for like any games I play or anything like that. And that's a really good thing. You know, that helps a lot. And then, you know, so we're not getting shopping alerts. We're not getting breaking news. We're not getting any of that, right? And then your app placement. I'm terrible at this, but I think this is great advice. Is like you can take you can use several pages, right?
Mhm.
My brain wants everything to be on one page, so I have folders and stuff. But if I got out of that habit and I took the stuff that was a little bit more had a little bit more potential to be toxic and I put that on a different page, it wasn't the first thing I saw. You know, what's on that first home screen maybe should be very minimal.
Yeah.
Minimal in grayscale, you know, and I think that would go a long way to helping to retrain our brains, right? Like, do I need this right now? You know, that kind of stuff. Some of the things I've seen some young people do, like my daughter and her friends, sometimes they will delete apps that they have every intention of re-downloading like 3 hours from now, but they'll delete a social media app.
Just get rid of it.
Get rid of
until
it right
they're
now.
ready to use
I'm
it.
locking in.
Mhm.
I'm gonna get rid of them.
That's part of your
Right,
lock-in.
part of locking in.
If you
You know,
tuned
like,
into the previous episode,
right, like,
that is part of your
part of it.
lock-in routine.
Yeah.
is I will not
Deleting.
be tempted. I
Right.
am going to
Mhm.
delete this.
Removing it,
Yeah,
and then
they're
they
simple to
re-download it.
download again.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just get
It
rid
has
of
the
it.
little cloud with the arrow. They make it
Mhm.
easy.
Yeah.
Right. So, so I think there's a couple of things that we can do with intention and be aware of that. If anybody has any other ideas, any of our listeners or viewers, like drop them in the chat. Let us know, you know, what's one change, and ask yourself one change that I could make today specifically to your cell phone. I know y'all have one. So what's the one change that you could make to make your phone feel calmer? Not to use it less, just to make it feel calmer, and then give us your ideas. So we look forward to hearing that. Thank you.
Thanks for joining us.
Thanks for listening to The Brain Factor. Joy and I are so thrilled to be having these needed conversations. We'd love to hear your feedback on this episode, so if you could drop a comment or leave a review with your thoughts or any requests that you may have, it would be appreciated. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share with your friends. Living a healthier and happier life starts with one step, and we're excited to be on this journey with you. Until next time.